down, we've got the high status guys kind of looking like they're dancing, holding hands. And this one, a drawing showing the various levels. The lowest level we don't see on this one, but it's the nude warriors, then the high status guys, then the decapitator Ayapec, then another human, then this mystical creature holding the decapitated head, snake at the top. This is from 2 years ago, and at that point, in one corner of the plaza, one corner of the north face of that pyramid, they hadn't reached the bottom. Okay? At that point in time, you could come out of a passageway right to the left of where those people are standing. You were up on the top of the pyramid, you came down the stairways, and you came out into that area up at the top where you can see kind of the railing there. This is from a month and a half ago, my last trip to Peru, and they now have completely uncovered that north face. And that passageway that you used to be able to come out of and walk into this area is that hole in the wall up at the top. They are going to fill that in, and they can reassemble, and they know what it should have on terms of the decorations. They can reconstruct that because it's repetitive. So they now have completely cleared that whole patio. This is looking from the bottom. We're looking up at the various layers, and down at the very bottom, the real bottom down here is where the nude figures are to be found. Just like we saw at Cabo Viejo, there's a little room at the corner of this patio, just like at Cabo Viejo. Nude warriors, or nude prisoners at the bottom, then our high status people, then Ayapec, another layer of humans, and up near the top, the snake. In the corner, the little room just like at Cabo Viejo. The walls of it are covered with figures. The right-hand wall, adjacent to where the nude warriors or nude prisoners are coming. There's our guys. This is some of the excavation that was actually going on. They're clearing off the little figures, hopefully. And the question John asked earlier was, were they even using a dental floss and dental picks and so forth? Yes, indeed. They are doing a very, very careful excavation here. The prisoners, the nude prisoners, are escorted by Moche warriors that have all their accoutrements, including their club, and on the club are draped the clothing and the weapons and so forth of the nude guys. So they're actually carrying the package of things that they have taken off the nude warriors. This is the little room that they seem to be walking towards, just like we saw a little room that they were walking towards at Cabo Viejo. On this wall that you're seeing there, what we have are pairs of warriors fighting. And on the other walls of that little room are, just as we saw at Cabo Viejo, it's our mixed stickers from Moche land. We don't know the stories that these are trying to tell, but we see a high status person. He's got a crown and a club. There are some animals in there. There's some guys with a net up in the upper right. This is Ricardo Teo, the guy who's in charge of the excavations. He's doing the excavations there. I'm pointing to another high status figure. Behind my head you can see one of the cat figures. Above that, the guys with the net. And those are all figures that show up on the Moche fine line drawings, except we can't put the story together. One of the most intriguing things about this was uncovered, I think, 5 years ago, was this black spot. In the middle of that wall is this spot. It looks like somebody threw something on it, and then it was falling down. It was pouring down. If you're thinking decapitation, if you're thinking of nude prisoners about to be sacrificed, what is the object that you might have? And you might be thinking blood. And when I saw this in 2005, I said, is that blood? And they said, Richard Teo was with us, said, we're going to find out. Richard Teo was with me a month and a half ago, and I asked the question again, is that blood? He said, we still don't know. So we don't have an answer to that question, but it may well be the blood from the sacrifices. It's a close-up. And there's Ayapek, our decapitator. He's got his trophy head in his hands, and he's got his sacrificial knife in his hand, and he's done his work. They just opened another great museum. There used to be 2 nice museums up in Lambayeque area, been there for 8 or 10 years. Last year they opened one, 2010 they opened one at Huacacao Viejo. In 2010 they opened a new museum at Huaca de la Luna. And that's the museum there. It's about a quarter mile away from the pyramids, outside the archaeological area. When Ananda and I were there in 2010, it had just opened. It had been open for a week or so, and we were not allowed to take any pictures at all, couldn't do anything near. Everything was all under protection. Fortunately, this year, last year, 7 weeks ago, I was able to write ahead to Santiago Uceda, known him for more than 40 years, almost 40 years, and got permission to go inside with the cameras. So this is actually Ricardo Morales, who is the co-director at the site, and Ricardo Teo, who is the actual field director at the site. And with them, walking with us, and with a police guard right behind, more than anything to tell other people, no, you cannot take pictures, he can take pictures. We were able to go inside and take some pictures. This is an absolutely fantastic museum. In fact, the one at Cabo Viejo is wonderful, but this one is just fantastic. Very, very well done. Some of the more interesting pots are in individual cases. There are a number of flat screen TV monitors scattered throughout with various videos. Most of the most interesting things that they have found are on display.
So are all these museums, when they were placed, making sure that they're not on any slip?
They're not on anything. They're outside the archaeological area. The one at Cabo Viejo, it's impossible not to put it on because that whole platform is archaeological, but they found a spot that was not of any significance. This is a magnificent piece. It's a series of gold foil pieces that were apparently sewn onto a cloth in the form of a banner. So what they've done here is mounted those on a piece of wood or cardboard. Those are the individual gold pieces. The cloth had rotted away, but the pieces were in their position, so they were able to place them properly. It is probably in the form of a flying fox. This is a video that I took off the wall. I'm videoing a video. That's Ayapek in several of his forms. And at the lower right there is this same banner, but I like this video because it kind of shows it waving in the sense that that's what it would have done. It would have waved. I think you get the sense. This is a very imaginative museum with great videos, great flat screen TVs, wonderful projection. There's our fox, same banner as seen in a line drawing from a pot. This is a rollout taken off of a pot. Same banner up there. It's a nice little video. Here's a snake from a moche mural. Here's the same moche image from an ear spool, high status, one of those ear spools. There's our warrior leading the nude prisoners, carrying the weapons and clothing and so forth from the nudes. There's one of those little ear spools with the exact same image. And there's the snake also that was the top layer on that north face of the pyramid. So it shows us that the elements of art in Moche show up on murals, show up on gold and silver, show up on pottery and so forth. They're all the same. Okay, that's the end. Ed, did you have one question?
Yeah, the snakes, will those be rattlesnakes?
No, no, no. It's a little snake. It's only about 2 feet long, almost translucent. It's out in the desert. It supposedly is very, very poisonous. I've only seen it once out when I was working in the desert, but it is a local snake. Let me hold off for questions a minute. I think all of you know that we do tours, and there's some flyers in the back for our upcoming tour. If we have a little bit of time, do we have time enough for a little bit more?
Yeah, yes.
Then we're going to go to, not the coast, we're going to go up to the mountains. And again, I showed you some pictures in the mountains before of this particular thing 5 years ago, but we've got great new video. So let's go up to Choqquequirca. It's a festival in the town of Ollantaytambo. It's their patron festival. Every year it's 7 weeks after Easter. In other words, the Pentecost festival, 50 days after Easter, which makes the main day the Monday after the 7th Sunday after Easter. It goes for 4 days. It starts on Saturday and runs through Tuesday. There are anywhere from 10 to 12 or even 13 dance groups every year taking part. And for those 4 days, somebody is dancing all the time. Sometimes all the groups are processioning in a parade from one church to the other in the town. Other times one group will be dancing. Here's an overview of Ollantaytambo. I'm up on the hill, but you can still hear music coming from the town below. The church, the main, is on the main square here to the left. There is another church. It is right there. And then the thing that Ollantaytambo is very famous for are the ruins, incomplete Inca ruins on the hill above the town. When Manco Capac revolted from the Spanish about 4 or 5 years after the Spanish conquest, 1532-33, this was the last big battle before the Incas fled out into the jungle. But that's the ruins up on the hill. Things have gotten pretty fancy. They now have big billboards and posters for the festival. It takes place, again, 50 days, 7 weeks after Easter. If you think about it, Easter does change. It's one of the holidays that changes. It's the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox, which means it could be as early as the 23rd of March, or it could be as late as the end of April. There's basically about a 5-week period when Easter could fall, and then this is 7 weeks later, which means this could be as early as mid-May or as late as mid to late June. Actually, before the festival started, the group were just practicing. Every group has its own band. Some are local boys, like this one, some brought in from outside the town. Every group has its own music. Every group has about anywhere from 6 or 7 up to a dozen variations of their song, but they have one song that is their song. Costumes are magnificent. This is a group called the Mojeños. They represent white overlords who are drunk. Much of the festival involves drinking, basically a 4-day drunk. Traditionally, it involves licentious behavior. Children born 9 months later are welcome, even though you can't identify the father. Here's a group called the Panaderos. Some groups are all male, some groups are mixed, half and half, some groups are basically female, although this group does have one male. The panadero means baker, so you have the baker and the women who are working with the baker. And what these baker women are doing is drinking chicha, corned beer.